It's a real regime almost.
Oh, hell no.
They're talking about me.
All I needed was one ball. The science of training.
And I know you don't think it's a sport. I want to talk about your you know, kind of like your legacy in bodybuilding. You know, you've been doing it for quite some time now. You know what I mean? As a competitor and as a coach, right? If you look back at it, what do you think is your biggest contribution, you know, to the sport of bodybuilding?
My contribution to the sport, well, it changed over the years, and I'm really convinced that my contribution today is that I can show. You know, I started when I was like 16 years old, and I'm in a couple of months I'm turning 60 years old, and I think my biggest contribution is that I'm a living example that bodybuilding can be really healthy.
Really? Okay. Even competitive professional bodybuilding can be healthy, you're saying?
It can, you know, it's for sure. I'm convinced about it because you know, I'm willing to talk about even what I did back in the days, and yeah, not really much changed as far as that perspective for me. And there are a lot of examples for bodybuilders that are still healthy. They're good friends of me, like Lila Brada, a lot of a good example. And I think the biggest thing is the consistency in the lifestyle. And you know, and nowadays, no, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say nowadays. It always has been like this. You see a lot of people, they peak for a competition, and they actually, you know, they're a couple of weeks in a year they are in shape, and you know the rest of the year they are not in shape. So you know that's maybe in the old days that was different. You know, we kind of were in a pretty decent shape all year round, and well, it pays off now.
How did you get into bodybuilding? Why did you choose that, you know, profession as a kid? Right, you got into it early, right? You were still a teenager.
Yeah. Well, I actually I was looking for a sport. I was looking for anything in my life that was really tough, like the like really hard, you know, exhausting, the most extreme thing I was looking for. At the time, I didn't know it yet, but I have ADHD, and that probably is one of the reasons that I'm always have been looking for challenging things. So I thought I did a lot of sports, like many sports, but I couldn't find a sport that was really challenging enough, and therefore I choose to go into commandos. And for that, you know, the toughest division in the army. Not really to defend my country in the first place, but really I thought that was going to be the toughest thing on earth to do for me. And for that reason, I went to a gym, like a weight training gym, and not really conscious about like bodybuilding really yet, but I was thinking those times that I thought about bodybuilding, I hated it. But I hated bodybuilding. I always I didn't like it at all. I really thought they were like blown up frogs, like shiny, like I didn't like it at all. The time that really the first day that I went in the gym for totally different reasons, not to become a bodybuilder. I saw posters from Frank Zane, Serge Nobret, but one poster was really like appealing to me. It was of course Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this literally happened. It's not like a that I romanticized it, but I really it was happening. I looked at this. Well, if this is bodybuilding, if this is bodybuilding, it can be beautiful too. And Arnold at the time, he was like extreme. He was like big. He was like, and literally the same day, the first day that I came home from my first visit to a gym, I told my mother, well, listen, mom, I'm not going to be a professional, I'm not going in the army. And she was all relieved and said, oh, you're going to be like a doctor now or something, or a dentist? I said, no, no, mom, I'm going to be world champion bodybuilding. And that was really the post of Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not like that I make this up. It was literally, I hated bodybuilding until I saw this poster of Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, and Serge Nubret. And I literally said to my mom, I'm going to be world champion. And that's what I did.
So how did you learn how to bodybuild properly? I'm not talking about just to lift weights, but like how to diet, you know, what supplements to take. Who taught you? That was in the 70s, right? I'm assuming.
Well, I started in the late 70s, but like my first competition was like in 1980. And well, it started with that first day that I went to the gym. You know, I asked the instructor, like, please, can you explain, you know, how those equipment work, how it all works? And he said he was angry with me. It was actually the gym owner, and he said, you know, don't fool me. You know, you have been to the gym many years. I said, no, this is the first time in the gym. And well, because I always already looked muscular because of all the things that I did myself at home, like pushing up, pulling myself up in the garage of my dad, all those kind of things. And the moral of this story is we didn't have internet. We didn't have, it was a good thing because we could not get confused. So in order, because I always have been extreme in everything that I've been doing. And so that becoming a Mr. World Champion, that was so something serious. So from day one, me and my brother made a plan for that. And we actually had to go to the library. A friend of my dad was a doctor. We had to learn, you know, about the body and ask those kind of things. But most importantly is that we had to listen to our body. So now, of course, on the internet you can search for how to build muscle. You will find about like 100 things. But at that time, you only had your body as reference. So you only had to, you could like watch in the mirror, what is going to happen when I do this or that. So basically, really, I always has been pretty stubborn, and I never really wanted to listen to people in when I was younger, and yeah, that's how I learned it. It even got that it even came to the point when me and my brother had this plan to compete, maybe like in 6 months down the road, my first competition. So I asked the gym owner, can we please, next week there's a show, can we please come with you and watch the show? And he said, yes, you can, but there's one condition. He said, well, name it, I will do it, so just that I can drive with you. And he said, you have to compete. I said, what? I don't even know what to eat. And the big guys in the gym, I was 17 years, and they told me the only thing that I knew was like they were eating chicken. So for 2 weeks, my mother bought like 3 chickens a day for me, and that's what I did. So of course, a lot of mistakes, but in those 2 weeks, I learned so much about why you still need carbs and, you know, and all those kind of things. So I really, my body was like a research, and later, even when coaches became a little bit popular, and you know, when things, the Muscle Fitness, you know, wrote scientific articles, even then I always, and this is probably really important, it was to me, I always asked myself, if somebody told me, well, you have to do it like this, I always ask why. And that's you know, if you have 100 different people, there you have 100 different approaches.
Right, right. So you kind of you almost self-taught yourself how to be a
Yes,
pro
yeah.
bodybuilder. Now, if you look back at your career as a competitor, right? How would you describe your achievements, specifically competing? You know.
Um, I'm really satisfied. In 1979 or 1980, I did my first competition, and I already became world champion in 1985. So that was the achievement already. Then I turned professional and competed 4 times in the Mr. Olympia, and always placed in the finals. And with the final results in 1988, where I placed third at the Olympia.
That's amazing. You beat Dorian Yates at one point as an amateur, right? Is that true?
Yeah, in 1985. I still every time I see him, I still tell him, "Hey, I beat you."